And so, Game Week 30 is here, and it marks the start of the final quarter of the season, and what promises to be the most dramatic conclusion FPL has ever seen. And for my lords, the chance to make history is very much there, as I stand on the precipice of unrivaled glory. Not only is my second top 10k finish in 4 years tantalisingly within reach, but so too is the ultimate prize, the opportunity to become only the third person in the entire world who can call themselves a multi-time League of Gentlemen champion. And if I were to win that title by hitting that top 10k ranking for a second time, the new benchmark for the division would be set, and a very strong argument could be made that I would have supplanted King Ding as the greatest gentleman to ever play the game. That is what's on the line in these final 9 game weeks, but as you will see, it was also close to slipping through my grasp, and it's gonna take my greatest master plan ever to pull off the impossible dream. And I always have a plan up my sleeve, and I'll give you a little taster of that in just a few short minutes. However, achieving the unachievable will not be easy. Indeed, entering game week 29, my head had gone. My confidence was through the floor. Fear had closed its icy grip around my heart, and after the disaster that was game week 28, I had to figure out why. So I reassessed, I took stock, I looked deep within the sanctum of my soul, and I asked myself the hard questions, and the answers I found, they did not please me. They revealed to me that hitting that top 10k in game week 24, that was the turning point. That was the moment I lost my bottle. All the strategies and master plans that had taken me clear had been abandoned as I started making those safe, predictable, contracted cojones choices. And then one red arrow became another, and then a third one followed, and in the blink of an eye I was 30k and falling. And Grinchy Vot, who I know is watching, he knows all this. He was one of those wicked whisperers I let lead me down the garden path, and this last week those voices were there again, planting their seeds of doubt. As if you're not signing Vardiol, you have enough money, so how can you deny Haaland? But I knew I had to be brave. I knew I was the underdog. I knew my team needed surgery, but I also knew what it needed most was cojones. And it wasn't just about my FPL team, no. My beloved Newcastle were also huge underdogs, but I knew they could pull off the miracle upset if only they were brave, if only they played with courage, if only they allowed themselves to show the entire world the true majesty of their being. But I also knew how scary it can be to be yourself in the eyes of the world, unapologetic and proud. And if I wanted my beloved Newcastle to do that against Liverpool, I had to show them how by doing the same in my FPL team. So I took a deep breath. I looked those algorithm acolytes in the eye. I mustered up all the courage I had. I channeled it into one moment of extraordinary fortitude, and I pressed that confirm transfers button.
How can a man be brave if he's afraid? And that is the only time a man can be brave, he told me.
Saturday rolled around and the deadline passed, and I knew there was no more I could do. There was no turning back now. Then the clock cuckooed 3 times and the weekend of destiny began, and it only took 11 minutes before I heard the rapping of the door, the Grim Reaper's scythe echoing down the corridor. Odin himself had sent every ounce of his Norse force he could muster, and the ball was in the back of the net. I could not watch. I could not listen. I could barely breathe. I checked my phone half an hour later and I saw Forest had scored 3 times and I sank to my knees. I winced as the assassin's blade scraped my window. I flinched as I heard the Grim Reaper chuckling at the door, but I refused to let them breach my defences because I had faith in my lords and I felt the angel watching over me. I turned off my phone. I prayed to Sir Bobby Robson above and I waited until the end of play. The full-time whistles blew and with trepidation in my heart I opened live FPL.net. As the live data for the League of Gentlemen downloaded, I braced myself for the inevitable crash. However, those FPL gods had sent me a very special pilot, and my team not only navigated the perils of the game week's first day, they soared above them. Haaland only 1 goal for his captainers. Chris Wood 0 goals for his captainers. The much vaunted Gvardiol only 1 point for his owners. My new signing, the Serbian superstar Milenkovic, 11 massive points. An Umbumo assist for his many owners, but also an assist for the bow and arrow. A Bournemouth defeat, but an assist for Kinky Kirkes. An Ipswich thrashing, but a last gasp assist for none other than Dara O'Shea, bringing home 3 magical points that felt more like 10. When the chips were down, my boys stepped up, but that was only day 1 of the game week. Anything could still happen the following day, and in my heart I was starting to believe.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
As the cocks crowed and the birds sang to herald the dawn of the Lord's day, there was something different about the atmosphere. When I inhaled, the air felt cleaner. When I drank, the water felt purer. When I hit my vape, the flavour felt fuller. The anticipation was palpable, and my spidey senses were telling me a very special day was about to unfold. And then Cole the goal was ruled out, leaving me down to 10 men. And then Gabriel did nothing except keep a clean sheet, giving the advantage to Arsenal defensive doublers. And then that cursed Robinson kept a clean sheet and was awarded a bonus point from nowhere. But Chelsea had conceded, meaning that blasted Colwill hadn't harmed me this week. So all was not lost. And then it was time, and I sat back and I watched the greatest game in the history of football. The cats fled up the stairs as I roared myself hoarse. When Big Dan Burns scored his humongous header, they crept back downstairs only to flee once again when the greatest striker in all of world football fired home. My beloved Newcastle faced down the best team in the land. They played with courage in their hearts and fire in their souls. They let their light shine so bright that all the world could see, and they delivered the day we've been waiting for our entire lives. And as our captain wept tears of pure ecstasy, I was right there with him, the joy coursing through my veins at such a remarkable display of confidence, composure and cojones. Bruno Guimaraes captained us to glory, and it was everything I've dreamt for 40 years it would be. And a couple of hours later, as my eyes finally cleared and I was able to see my mobile phone, I saw another vision of beauty. It was the face of those FPL gods smiling at me, and I heard those voices in my ear, and they were whispering, when you were at your lowest ebb, you resolved to play by the the gentlemanly ways. Fortune favours the brave, my friend. Here is your reward. I once again opened live FPL.net and I couldn't believe my eyes because another Captain Bruno had turned the impossible into reality.
Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you.
Game week 29 was a game week that shook the foundations of the League of Gentlemen to the core. The Dragon, distracted by his journey down to Wembley Stadium for the cup final, well, he took a hit and captained Clivert. He added just 28 points to his total and he dropped in the rankings to 4th position. The Gladiator, the forgotten battler of this tale, he rose from his knees and smashed home 53 points, moving 23 points ahead of the Dragon and narrowing the gap to 2nd place. Just when we thought he was out, the Gladiator found that rush of adrenaline and climbed up off the floor. He's now only 14 points behind the Assassin, who did have a couple of outstanding performers but was let down by the rest of his squad. And the worst thing for the Assassin was none of those outstanding performers were differentials because my team had taken a hit. We'd brought in Evan Nilsson and Milenkovic and we'd given the captain's armband to our 3rd new signing, who smashed home 34 gigantic, magnificent, momentum swinging points. And now our lead is 67 points, a full 20 points more than 2 days prior, and we climbed all the way back up to 17,000 in the world. In the biggest game week of the season, the one that demanded courage, both myself and my beloved Newcastle displayed championship cojones. We made the biggest of big balls calls, and the tale of 2 Brunos gave us the happiest of endings. It truly was the greatest game week of all time, and it will live long in the memory.
I don't have any words. It's one of the best day of my life. They deserve it.
However, that is not the end of our story. Though my lords are in a dream position, we have not yet awoken from this FPL nightmare. There are still trips to be played, blanks and doubles to navigate, and 9 terrifying monsters to overcome. And the 16-day break between game weeks is welcomed because we need to be refreshed for the challenges to come. And when we do return, we'll know an awful lot more about how those doubles and blanks will manifest. But that's for the next video because we're not playing our wild card just yet. And who knows, given the minimal turnaround between game weeks 30 and 31, maybe I'll do my first ever live stream and I'll invite you all to be in attendance as I select my 15 champions to stand against the Horde. Maybe the time is right to take that next step. Who knows? I did enjoy my experience on the Form is Temporary podcast this week, and after Roberto and Chris afforded me the space for a true nightmare intro, well, that's just given me the taste. Maybe the FPL Nightmare story will continue next season, and maybe it will be exclusively in the live stream realm. Maybe that's what I need to hunt down that world #1, the collaboration of the greatest supporters I've ever known. And if the Nightmare family can take Cody Rhodes to the pinnacle of wrestling, why can't my Nightmare family do the same in the world of FPL? Maybe next season we'll put that to the test. If my Wildcard Warriors bring home that League of Gentlemen trophy, and if they deliver to me that top 10k ranking, then anything is possible.
And if you fight for your dreams will fight for you.
But these are considerations for another day. Today it's all about game week 30, and I know some people have wildcarded and the possibility of a team consisting of Mo Salah, Alexander Isak and 9 potential future double game week players all up against promoted teams. Well, that is very appealing. I mean, it's a magnificent team, and even if Bournemouth do miss out on qualification for the cup. It's easy enough to start Newcastle players against Brentford, Forest players at home to a bottom half team, or Villa and Brighton players if needed. The options are there on a wild card, and even if we don't know when the doubles will fall, we will know who won in the FA Cup. So I understand the appeal of the Game Week 30 wild card, especially when it also means an extra transfer further down the line. However, if like me you'd rather wait for the fixture information, I don't think this is a difficult game week to prepare for. In fact, I think it's one of the easiest we've had all season. For me, there are only 3 names to consider: Marmoush, Munoz and Mateta. Maybe I could be persuaded that Gvardiol is an option, seeing how Leicester City are allergic to scoring, and if you do have the extra funds, then Haaland is always good for a single return. But for me, those 3 names are the only ones under consideration: Mateta, Munoz and Marmoush. The problem is which one benefits my team the most, because when you look at my Game Week 30 team, it's already nicely set up. Indeed, the main gain could come from going for Dean Henderson in goal, given all my outfielders have the potential for returns. But signing a goalkeeper a week before a wildcard seems daft to me, so it comes back to those 3 names: Marmoush, Munoz and Mateta. And it's a bit difficult because if Cole Palmer is out, he seems the obvious one to sell. But I don't need to maximise money on the pitch right now. It's all about the points. And I actually think Munoz has the biggest potential of those 3 names this week. But if I think Bruno Fernandes can get a return, do I drop Milenkovic? Can Kirkes finally add a clean sheet to his run of attacking returns? It's a tough call, and if I'm honest with you, like I always am, I'm tempted to sign Munoz for Hall and bench Gabriel and take my chances against those Arsenal defensive doublers. The other possibility is a striker, and if I am to bring in Marmoush or Mateta, it will be Big Chris Wood that likely makes way. However, the problem with that move is, if Nottingham Forest end up with a double game week, is it really worth selling Wood for just 1 week? I mean, I could instead sign Munoz and attack from the back. And you may think Arsenal won't concede and benching Gabriel would be crazy, but Fulham have scored in every away game since the opening day of the season. It would be a gamble to bench Gabriel, but given the attacking power of Milenkovic, Kirkes and Munoz, it may well be one worth taking. I didn't get where I am by playing it safe after all. I could even go 4 at the back and bench Bruno Fernandes, but that may be a big balls call too far even for me. So much depends on the FA Cup fixtures and how they shake down, because we all remember what happened in the last round and how it threw all our teams into chaos. All I know is that those are the 3 names on my mind: Marmoush, Munoz and Mateta. If you ask me now, I can't give you an honest answer as to which player I'll sign, and though it's unlikely, I'm not ruling out the wild card, especially when deep down inside I'd like to see all 3 of them grace my team. In a weird way, I almost hope the FA Cup takes the decision out my hands, because it's such a tough call to make.
You can't play in the man's game, you can't close them, then go home and tell your wife your troubles.
Whatever I end up doing, it's a call I absolutely have to get right, because at this stage of the season, all that matters is results. My 67-point lead over the rest of the world's greatest mini-league is powerful, but I benefited from a 30-point captaincy swing this week, and that shows how easily such margins can be recovered. And it's not lost on me that I'm only 13 points away from the top 10k. I'm only 20 points behind my Everest Praz, the man I see as the true FPL master, and I'm only 28 points away from the top 5,000. The opportunity is there for a sensational season, but it could all be snatched away with just one bad wildcard decision. The pressure is growing, but so too is the sense of anticipation. 30 game weeks ago, I dreamed of being in a position like this. I coveted the chance to tell a story such as this. Well, here we are. The dream is manifesting, and there's only one person who can make it a reality. And if there's anything I've learned from the tale of two Brunos, it's that if you have the courage to play with your heart, if you have the bravery to take chances, and if you have the boldness to lay it all on the line, then you can put the fantasy in FPL, and all those nightmares can come to an end. And so, ahead of the game week that heralds the final push for glory, let me just say, may all your transfers be successes, may all your arrows be green, and may those FPL gods be in your favour. Live the dream like Big Dan Burn by hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you next time!
FPL Nightmare, got me pulling out more, yeah. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average, and my ranking is not fair.